Greetings, loved ones. Today we're going to talk about going to trial in a child sexual abuse case. Help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell. And please share these messages with others. You could save a life. In our last episode, we discussed the process of investigation in child sexual abuse cases. Now let's talk about the next step. Step 2, going to trial. Once the decision is made to go forward with the case, the whirlwind of the initial investigation usually stops, and there may be a lull as lawyers prepare for the trial. In many, if not most, criminal and civil legal cases, the case never actually goes to trial. Instead, it is settled before the trial date, either with a guilty plea to a lesser charge in criminal court or a negotiated settlement in civil court. For some families, such out-of-court settlements may be a relief, a way of moving on and putting the case behind them. For others, plea bargains and negotiated settlements may make the family feel as if they or the system is giving in or that the punishment has not been adequate. If the case does go to trial, children or adolescents may have many questions about what will happen in court. And the answer will depend on the child's age. Younger children need shorter answers and less detail than older ones. For example, it is normal for children to be worried that the person who hurt them might try to do so again or will try to get back at them for telling on them. It is generally enough to reassure your younger children that abusers know that the police can arrest them if they come near the child or family. With older children and adolescents, it can help to explain that the abuser is under a court order to have no contact and to describe the penalties the abuser would face for violating that order. Such explanations also give adult caretakers the chance to reassure children and adolescents that the responsibility for the abuse belongs to the abuser no matter what. When your child asks whether the abuser will be held accountable for the abuse, it is important to be both honest and reassuring. Children and adolescents should know that no matter what happens in court, they are supported and believed, and the abuse was not their fault. Adults can talk with their children about the feelings that led to the question and about their own feelings. If children or adolescents show signs of behavioral or emotional distress related to the abuse or court involvement, this may be a good time to explore treatment options. During the trial, giving court testimony can be stressful, but it can also be empowering, offering the child or the adolescent the opportunity to tell their side of the situation. Hearing others testify can sometimes be just as emotional as testifying. Your child may feel angry or sad when hearing about the experiences of parents or siblings, or feel outraged if he or she believes that witnesses are lying. Just going to court can have a dramatic emotional impact, particularly if it is the first time your child has seen the offender since he or she disclosed the abuse. And you may be worried about sharing a waiting room in the courthouse with the defendant, hostile witnesses, or family members loyal to the offender. If this is the case, law enforcement, attorneys, and court personnel can often arrange a variety of safety measures for your time in court, including accompanying you to and from the parking lot, providing separate waiting areas, and many other measures. A tour of the court facility before the trial and knowing where the safety officers are positioned, this can be a reassuring experience for children, adolescents, and their families, and I do recommend this. Feel free to ask for as much information as you wish from the service providers involved in your case, because you have the right to know what is happening in your case, to inform the attorneys of what you would like to have happen, and to provide victim impact statements or other feedback to the attorneys involved. So here are some tips for helping children cope with the stress of a trial. Maintain normal routines. Younger children especially feel more secure when their daily lives follow predictable patterns. Don't let life revolve around the case or the abuse. Set regular times to do ordinary family things together, such as playing board games, helping with homework, or going to the movies together. Another thing you can do is set normal expectations. In order to feel safe and secure in their world, children, even adolescents, need parents to make and keep the rules. Although you may be tempted to let things slide because the stresses of your child is experiencing, big changes in routine may actually tell your child that he or she is now somehow different. So try to maintain schoolwork, chores, and behavioral expectations as much as possible. Another thing is expect the unexpected. So don't be surprised if your child acts a little younger than his or her age during this time. Stressed children often revert to behaviors they've grown out of. It's their way of expressing that they don't feel so sure of themselves right now. And responding with reassurance and empathy will help. If your child begins to frequently act in ways that worry you, though, you may want to consider counseling for them. The other thing is, don't make life all about the trial. Let your child decide when to talk about court-related issues, and provide him or her with plenty of reminders and opportunities to just be a kid. If you have concerns that your child is very worried, scared, ashamed, or embarrassed about something and isn't talking about it, try to bring out feelings with general questions like, is there something on your mind? Or, you look like something's bothering you, rather than asking directly about court. Choose a time when you'll be able to continue the conversation once it's begun in case it's a long one. And avoid information overload. Part of what makes court involvement so stressful is that parents and children have no control over how and when the case will move forward. The court's plans can change suddenly, and court schedules often depend on the timing of other events. So how much you tell your child will depend on your child's specific needs and desires. Abuse takes choice away from the victim. So any choices your child can appropriately be given will be empowering. For example, if a trial is rescheduled, your child might want to know the new date, even if it's months away. Or they may not want to know until it's time to start preparing for the trial. Another thing you can do is to build supports outside of the family. Normal family supports can become splintered during child sexual abuse cases, particularly when the abuser is a family member or friend. It may be useful to make a list of everyone in your community who can help when needed. If you are religious, a church, synagogue, or mosque may be a place of healing and hope. If you experience judgment or blame at your place of worship, don't hesitate to seek a more welcoming environment to meet your spiritual needs. Look outside of your immediate circle of friends and relatives, especially if that circle is small or if it contains people who can't, don't want to, or don't know how to support you and your family. Many communities have organizations that exist just to help children and families in this kind of crisis. So take care of yourself. This is another thing you can do. You cannot support your child if you're at the end of your rope. Be aware of your own physical and emotional needs. Make every effort to eat well, get a decent night's sleep, and exercise as much as possible. If you need a break, give yourself permission to get what you need and turn to others for help. Pushing away troubling feelings will only make them come out in another, usually unhealthy way. I'm going slow on this because I really want you to hear me. While it may be tempting to get a quick fix on tough days by using alcohol or drugs, these substances can make it harder for your body to recover from stress. If you find yourself drinking or taking drugs to escape painful feelings, recognize this as a clear sign that you need to get help. And you can't help your children if you're in need of help or falling apart. According to the CDC, over half of all the children in the world, as 1 billion children ages 2 to 17, experience violence every year. So the question is not if you'll encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. Micah 6:8 says, He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. And if you're suffering abuse, I want you to know there is a way out. It is not your fault. Abuse is not love. And most of all, I want you to know you are not alone. If you're suffering violence, please reach out to someone today. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child or other person suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we will talk about coping with the verdict in a child sexual abuse case. Until then, God bless you.